Hey yo, what's the deal? You know who it is. It's the Don. Cheer! Tony Teflon. House Teflon. We pull the strings. Cheer! And I'm back at you, my people. What up, what up, what up? And this is another Game of Thrones video. But first, before I get into that, I would just like to say I got some new wallpaper up you may have seen, and that was donated to me by a subscriber of mine, Marianne. I'd just like to say thank you, Marianne, for hooking me up with that. It's really appreciated because I suck on all that paint. Everything I do like paint, and I suck at that shit straight up. That's why my shit doesn't look so great. But you know what I mean? Now it looks good because she hooked me up with that, and maybe I can get her to take my face out of it and somehow freak it up a little bit and make a house tougher and give me that without my face in it. And she did, then I will make t-shirts, and I promise that I will do that. If I had a good logo, I would definitely make t-shirts for people, without a doubt. So this video we're going to talk about, now I knew I said I was going to talk about into prophecies, but this video is going to delve into some prophecies, so I don't think people should be disappointed in this. So we're talking about the faith of the seven, basically the seven. All right, because the faith worships the seven. So we're talking about the seven, and the seven I do believe are, now let's say, we know that the prince that is promised is supposed to come from the bloodlines of Rhaegar, of Rhaegar's father and mother. All right, that's where the bloodline is supposed to come from her. So for the prince that is promised, I believe that the seven has, and I think all these deities have their own champions. I think the seven has their so-called prince that is promised. And since there are seven people, I believe that these seven people come from the bloodline of Catelyn, Tully, and Ned Stark, or them. And I think that, and them included into it. So I think, and them included, but their bloodline. So I think if you put it all together, I think it pretty much fits. And we'll talk about that. That's what this is going to be about. And I have something about Daenerys in here as well, and also obviously Jon Snow is in this too. So we'll get into it. The face worships the seven, a single deity with seven aspects of faces, each representing a different virtue. Worshippers pray to specific aspects of the seven for help and guidance depending on their need and their aspects. The Father, or the Father above, representing judgment, is depicted as a bearded man who carries scales and is prayed to for justice. Mother, or the Mother above, representing motherhood or nurturing. She is prayed to for fertility. Compassion is depicted as smiling with love, embodying the concept of mercy. Warrior, representing strength in battle. He is prayed to for courage and victory. He carries a sword. Maiden, representing innocence and chastity. She is usually prayed to for protection of a maiden's virtue. Smith, representing crafts and labor. He is usually prayed to when work needs to be done for strength. He carries a hammer. Crone, representing wisdom. She carries a lantern and is prayed to for guidance. Stranger, an exception to the other aspects. A stranger represents death and is unknown. Worshippers rarely seek favor from the stranger, but outcasts sometimes associate themselves with this god. So that are the seven that is worshipped in Westeros. So as I said, I believe that the Starks embody this, and especially so it's Ned Stark, his wife, and their true-born kids are the faith of the seven's champions. So luckily they do have seven of them, because obviously some of them don't make it. So Ned Stark is the father. I think that's easy to see why Ned is the father. He is depicted as a bearded man with scales. He is prayed to for justice. Ned is the Lord of Winterfell. He is asked to give justice many times. He beheads the Night's Watchman. He tries to capture Jorah Mormont for slave selling, while he was in Bear Island. Now, he also does a couple of other things that, minor things, but those are the two big things that he does. Now, as Hand of the King, he sends Beric Dondarrion after the mountain and declares Tywin Lannister enemy of the crown. He tries to seize Joffrey, but that doesn't work out, and then he is beheaded for it. And he's beheaded where? At the Great Sept of Baelor, which the High Septon is the most vocal on not killing Ned, claiming it's sacrilege to the sept, but that could just mean sacrilege on killing the father, if you want to look at it like that. Arya climbs on the statue of Baelor before Ned is killed. Now, Baelor is said to have begun his reign by walking down the Boneway barefoot to make peace with Dawn. Baelor returned home having to negotiate the marriage of his cousin Dario to Mario Martell as a meaning of making peace with Dawn after Darien I's failed conquest. Later, when Darien was king, he negotiated the marriage of his much younger sister Daenerys. Alright, so it was negotiated the marriage of his much younger sister Daenerys to the Prince of Dorne, thereby uniting the realm. It is said none of the Targ kings are more loved than him, which is also like Ned is very much loved by all in Winterfell and all in the North who knew him and respected. So it's easy to see why Ned is the father. But to me, if you look at the father in these books, people who make decisions, and that is basically who the fathers are, or other people's fates, they all end up in bad places. If you look at Christian Cole, Lord Butterworth, Tywin Lannister, Orion Mayweather, John Connington, John Arrington, Eddard Stark, Tyrion Lannister, all thought to be dead at one time or all died in tragic ways. And they were all hands of the king. And these are all people who make decisions for other people. So I think when you have the father type, that is what it usually ends up for you. Now, the warrior and the smith, I'll link up. Just like I'll link up the mother and the maiden, because I think they're related. Now, the warrior represents strength and burial. He is prayed to for courage and victory. He carries a sword. The warrior, to me, no doubt, is Robb Stark. It seems that the only thing he is or was good at was war. He never lost a battle, but in the end, he wasn't able to save his family or himself, because warriors or sellswords, warriors of a different name, only destroy, conquer. If you look at all warriors in the book, they all meet similar ends. Robert Baratheon, Khal Drogo, Victarion, Dario, Jon, Selmy, all of them. I know that later the latter haven't died, but I believe that they will. So we get into a little prophecy here. Mokoro says when asked about them, shadows, and meaning to me that they're dead, right? And then he says, one most of all, tall, twisted thing, with one blackened eye and 10 long arms sailing on a sea of blood. And we know this is Vic on the Dothraki Sea, because it said when it blooms, the red flowers make it look like a sea of blood. So quick, I think Vic goes after Dany on the Dothraki Sea, and at some point is killed, because Dany is only courted, if you look at it, by warriors at this point in her life. Everyone that she has gone after or been with has been a warrior type of guy, from all of them, if you look at it. And I think I'll bring up something, and it all doesn't work out, and I'll bring that up later. Now, the smith, representing crafts and labor, he is usually prayed to when work needs to be done for strength. He carries a hammer, and I think Rickon is the smith. Now, although not as much is written about Rickon, most of this is what I guess, but I think that it fits. This one fits. All right, now smiths are builders and repairers of the world, and the Storm King couldn't have won if he wasn't a smith to build Storm's End. And with supposed help from Bran the Builder, who is the most mentioned Stark in history of Starks, he has also helped build the war. Rickon, who was the rightful Lord of Winterfell that passed from the oldest Stark son Robb to the youngest Rickon, because we know Bran isn't coming back, will have to rebuild it. Now we know Stannis says that he marches on Winterfell before it is rebuilt. He specifically says that he does not want the strength to be rebuilt, and he does not want Winterfell rebuilt, and that is why he goes there. At the same time, Davos is the one going to get Rickon, the smith. So if he goes and gets, so Stannis is going to stop it from being built, while Davos is going to get the guy who is the Lord who will rebuild it. and that's what I believe. I also think that the other noticeable Smith is Gendry, and who I think in the end will be made legit and will be given Storm's End, and that's how Storm's End will get a Smith to rule it once again. Now, the mother and the maiden, I think it's clearly Catelyn and Sansa Stark, right? The mother, or the mother above, representing motherhood and nurturing, she is prayed to for fertility or compassion, and is depicted as smiling with love, embodying the concept of mercy. The mother also gives the gift of life. And when you contrast that with Catelyn being given the gift of life, and being reborn into Lady Stoneheart, who is described as having no mercy, it is clear she is now the flip side of herself as the mother. The maiden is represented represents innocence and chastity. She is usually prayed to for protection of a maiden's virtue after all she's been through, right? All that she's been through. Nobody has hit Sansa up yet. And I think if you take anyone in her situation, looking the way she does, I think she would have been bent over and broken a billion times. But somehow, Sansa Stark remains a virgin. It was said that the maiden dances through the skies. She lives in every lover's eye. Right? That's what it said. She dances through the skies and lives in every lover's eyes. Dancing through the skies to me sounds like flying. Sansa is called the little bird. It's also said her smiles teaches other birds to fly, which I think means Sansa will teach the other bird, the mockingbird, how to fly, as he is mesmerized by her smile, and he will go right through the moon door. The last line is, it gives dreams to children. This is how I think Sansa takes the veil. Now, she will unknowingly or willingly, I don't know, will give, I think, the sleep death to Robert Arryn. And I think that's how she will eventually take the veil. Now, the crone, representing wisdom, she carries a lantern and is prayed for guidance. And the stranger, an exception to the other aspects. The stranger represents death and is unknown. Worshippers rarely seek favor from the stranger, but outcasts sometimes associate themselves with this god. Now, it's easy to see Bran and Arya as these two. Bran is the green sea and is being taught wisdom of old. It is easy to see how he will be the most knowledgeable person in the world soon. And Arya, joining the Faceless Men, is a group who gives death to people away as the way to freedom. People pray to them to bring death to people. So now people are praying to Arya to bring death to them. So I think it's pretty easily conceived to see how those two fit those two aspects. Now, Jon, like I said, Jon is not from that bloodline, so he cannot fight for them. So, but before that, let me say this real quick. Why Dany is Nissa? People have asked me this, and I did that video, how Daenerys Stormborn will die. And obviously, I showed how she will die because she is Nissa, and will be sacrificed to make the sword. I'm going to give you right now 100% what I believe is 100% proof of this, and it all ties in for what we were just talking about with the 7. So, okay, the Davos chapters tells the tale. We have the burning of the 7. This also helps, proves the Starks theories too. That's why I'm putting it in here like this. Now, the maiden, and it goes as follows. The maiden laid awath the warrior. The maiden laid awath the warrior, her arms widespread as if to embrace him. The mother seemed almost to shudder as the flames came licking up her face. A long sword had been thrusted through her heart, and its leather grip was alive with flame. The father was on the bottom, the first to fall. All right. First, the father was the first to fall. Clearly, to me, that is Ned, who died first. All right. Now, since Cat was reborn and is no longer the mother, who is the only known mother? The mother in Westeros that we know about, and that is the mother of dragons. And in this verse, this is what we hear. The mother seemed almost to shudder as the flame came looking up her face. The long sword had been thrusted through her heart, and its leather grip was alive with flame. Right? alive with flame. So if you listen to that right there, the long sword had been thrust through her heart, and its leather grip was alive with flame, a living flame, needing to be forged through the heart of a mother to make it. Mother meaning the mother of dragons. You understand what I'm saying? And since Jon isn't from Ned and Cat, he isn't one of the seven. And it's easily proven like this. Because when Jon first goes to the war, what does he want to do? He wants to become a ranger. That is his number one goal, to be a ranger. Rangers are what? Basically warriors, right? So if he was part of their seven, he would have been able to do that. But he wasn't. He was not able to do that at all. They did not allow him to do it. They made him a steward. All right? And what are stewards? Stewards are the most important people on the wall. Stewards are the people that tend to that help tend to the ravens. They're the ones who delegate the food. They're the ones who delegate orders to people. They're the ones who they may do some laundry, and they're the ones who squire and battle for Lord Commanders. They keep the whole thing running. Now he took that against his will, but that made him not a warrior. And as I said before, all the warriors that are in Dany's life, if you look at him, Khal Drogo, right? Jorah Mormont, right? Victarion, all these dudes that are warriors that like a Dario Naharis, sell swords, warriors, don't work out with him. If Jon would have been allowed to become that, I think it wouldn't have worked out with him. But he's not that. And that's why I think it will work out with him. And that is why I think that Jon will forge Lightbringer through Dany's chest, the one love that is working out for her, that she's allowed to have. And that is how it will go down. Because as you've seen in the sacrifice from Melisandre doing it there, it was the mother statue that held the sword in its chest. And the only mother left is the mother of dragons, and that is Daenerys. And that is why I believe that the Starks one second. Thank you. And that is why I believe that the Starks are definitely the seven reincarnated. So, given that question, the seven reincarnated, we leave yourself another question. Who is the other people reincarnated? Just like I said, Jon's not a Stark, so he's not with the seven. So who is he with? Who is running with the drowned guy, and who's running with them? And I will get to those in a later video. I will do who is the Lord's champion, who is the drowned God champion, and all the others. If I get enough likes on the video and enough thumbs up, I will definitely do that. So, I also was asked real quick about the Tower of Joy again. I did a whole thing on Ned Stark's fever dream, and so I would just tell you this: you could just watch that if you ever want to thing. And I did a thing on Jon Snow's birthright, 3 parts on that. So I think that should explain to you the Tower of Joy in its entirety of what's going down. That's the way I feel about it. So, yo, I'm out of here. As always, it's the Don Cheer, Tony Teflon, House Teflon, Teflon 316. We pull the strings. Cheer, the people's champ, chairman of the board. And I'll be back at you with another one. So subscribe, like, and tell your friends about me. Peace. We out, my people.